Welcome back to your favorite podcast, Tithe Life. Thank you all so much for tuning in to us week after week to see what we are talking about and to engage with us. Do not forget to like, share, and subscribe. We are so excited to come to you all today. We have been reading a lot of your comments, and let me tell you, they've been interesting and enlightening.
Yeah.
So we thought that we should address at least one of the concerns that you all have today. The main one being, should your pastor be paid?
Who knows? It's a very important question, a very interesting
It
question.
seems like a very controversial question.
Yeah.
More so. Like, before it's, like you said, interesting, or it seems to be debatable in the comments. So we wanted to go back and address that. So on one of our most viewed shorts on YouTube and Instagram, we discussed how Jamal Bryant had asked for an offering while T.I. was there, and he felt slighted by it. So that, again, those comments have went back and forth. The pastor shouldn't be paid. Tithes just go to give the pastor a Bentley. So we wanted to go back and really set a foundation for this about your pastors and their leadership amongst y'all's flock, wherever you may go to church. If it's online, if it's in person, if it's in a small church, if it's in a big church, how do we see how y'all feel about it? But I think it was worth addressing, Jay, what you and I believe about it. So, I'll throw it over. Should the pastor be paid? Should he have a job, whether a full-time, part-time business, a full-time, part-time job, or even a business? What should the pastor be doing with his money and his time? Because that's what the people want to know.
Yeah. Well, I think first things first, we always talk about the church as a business. The church is a business, and, it needs money to survive just like any other business. So, we have to give our tithe. Of course, we talk about that all the time,
Right.
to the business so that the church can make money and so that the church can stay open and stay afloat. When it comes to the pastor, that's a job, just like anything else, just like any other job. So I think a pastor should definitely be paid. As far as how much he should be paid, that's up for debate. But I think it really depends on the level of the church, the amount of membership that it has. And then his pay should be based off of those things. And should it be the pastor's full-time job, or should the pastor have another job kind of on the side or another business? I think that also depends on the level of the church and the amount of members the church has. If it's a smaller church, I think definitely the pastor should have a secondary job or a secondary business and not be looking for the church to fund his salary almost 100%. But if it's a bigger church, then yes, that should be pastor should be the only thing you do and should be your full-time job.
I think, and going exactly to what you said, I think it should be optional for a pastor whether or not he wants to only collect what he's given from the church versus if he wants to, again, work at a part-time job, own a business, work a full-time job. For a very long time, the pastor that I had, Pastor Harmon, worked at a prison as a chaplain, and also, and I think I've said this before on previous episodes, also pastored two churches, one in Statesboro and one in Sylvania area. So it's a lot to ask, especially a small pastor, the pastor of a small church, to not receive anything when that pastor is the one that y'all have on call 24/7.
Yeah.
I am sick. Can you come visit me in the hospital? My loved one died. Can you ordain this funeral? Can you come and counsel me in my marriage or in any kind of situation that I may be dealing with? But I don't want to give anything, which is crazy. And so, yes, I believe the pastor should be paid. Point two, what the word says, 1 Timothy 5:8, the laborer is worthy of his wages. He is working. She is working. So, yes, they should be paid. And finally, you don't pay tithes to a person. You pay tithes to the church. Do some take salaries from the church? Yes. But you do not pay the pastor. You pay, your tithes go to the church. And like you said, as a business, it has a mortgage. It may have a mortgage. It definitely has a light bill, a water bill if you go into the restroom in the church. So yes, do those things. You have a job too. Most of us have jobs. It's not many people that that, don't have jobs or have, even on some type of fixed income. That whole thing doesn't even go to you. You pay taxes on that. Yeah. You may have benefits that go to that. It doesn't necessarily always go to you or your lifestyle or the things that you want. Your needs have to come first. So you have to be mindful of that when you say things like, oh, and that's exactly what some of the comments say. It just goes to the pastor. The pastor's getting all the money and the people are poor. Situational based. But should the pastor be paid? Yeah. If he's helping, yes. I want to go back to something that you said, though, about how much is too much.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, that really just brings us to the question of, should there be a cap that pastors can make? Should there be a maximum amount that a pastor can make? And of course, most people, when they hear that question, they think within the church, maybe of a few thousand people, should the pastor only make X amount of dollars? But no, I'm talking about if a pastor is preaching to half the world or just to so many people that, they can hardly even keep up, should it be a maximum amount that they can make?
What's your answer?
To me, no. There shouldn't be a maximum that a pastor can make. It's just about the transparency, being transparent with the members of the church to where the church funds are going. And also, when you're dealing with so many people and so many members and that being your full-time job, who is to say what the max should be? Just like you just stated, you gives your tithes to the church and the church breaks down those funds and goes about paying for things as they should. So it just really goes back to trust. And do you trust your church to do the right thing with the funds that you're giving them?
So I'm going to put my accountant hat on. I'm accountant by trade. That's what I do. That's what I went to school for. That's a lot of me, the accounting side, right? So we continue to harp on the fact that the church is a business, it's an institution, all of those things. What does every business / institution need, should have, if they want to be successful? They got to have a budget.
Yeah.
There should be a budget for every single church. There should be a church budget. If your church is not operating on a budget, it's going to be very difficult to sustain. That's the same thing with any business you may have. It has to have a budget, right? So in that budget, salary and wages should always be a part of a budget. If you have people working within the business, in the institution, in the church, there should be salaries and wages somewhere that are a part of the budget. That way you don't get it confused. Now, when we're talking about salaries and wages, you can set it at a certain percentage. That way you don't have to worry about, okay, I have to have this certain amount or the church doesn't have this certain amount. You say, hey, it's based on this percentage. If we decide to have a cap, we're always going to cap it at this percentage that the pastor may be paid. If that's 10%, if it's 5%, wherever, 25%, wherever it is within your church, this is the percentage cap. And like you said, and I agree 100% wholeheartedly, be transparent. I love, I talk about elevation all the time. I love that every 12% of every dollar goes to outreach. Outreach is a part of the budget. The salaries and the wages for the staff too, not just Stephen Furtick, not, the other pastors, the other people, the audio staff, the visual staff. It takes stuff to run. You have to take care of the people that you expect to be in a certain place at a certain time. So I love that you said to be transparent. And in that transparency, just wrapping up, when we think about what we receive from pastors, and I can say, again, going back to Pastor Harmon, not, whenever we needed him, he was there. Even would go to like Phil's basketball games, all of that. Like, just a very just involved pastor. Now, let's say you don't get all of that from your pastor, that you only get a word from your pastor, that's all you get, that you may not, I don't never know if I will ever see Stephen Furtick one day face to face, but all I get is a word from him, right? How much is that good word, that convicting word to your soul, to your spirit? What is that worth to you? How much would you pay for someone that you speaking directly into your situation because they have a direct line of communication with God?
I would say that it's priceless. It's honestly priceless because it's worth its weight in gold. Honestly.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh. Woo.
You just can't put a price on the wisdom of God just because it's more important than money. It's so much that you can do with that word that you've received than you can do with this money. I'm pretty sure if we put up some money, you said, hey, either I'll give you $100 to stay home every Sunday and never go to church. Some people might take that up. Hey, I'll take the $100 every Sunday and I'll never see another church in my life. That's what some people might say. But if those people knew the power of that word that they would be receiving, they would be in that seat every Sunday.
Every Sunday. Every Sunday. I just want you to not also be in a seat, but give to the place that's providing that seat.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it. You're getting that. Your spirit, your soul is getting fed. You're in fellowship with other people. In some instances, people are, taking care of your children. We were raised in children's church and children's ministry, and you're getting all of these things. And I can literally get up and walk out and think nothing of it without giving to the place that's giving to you. And I can't ever say that I'm cool with that. So I, again, agree. It's priceless. And if all that's being asked for is 10%, why not?
Why not? It's the least you can do. It's what God asks us for. It's what the word calls us to do. So you have been here with Jay and Shay right here on the Tithe Life podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. And you guys tell us what you think. Should the pastor be paid? How much should the pastor be paid? Should it be a cap on what the pastor can make? Put it in the comments below.
What is a good word worth to you? Let us know that, because I feel like we know what they think about the pastor being paid.
All right. Well, we'll see you next time. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you on the next week of Tithe Life.